4 places in nature you should never visit. Introduction. These places call, but they don't let you go. I've spent years, long, restless years, digging through forgotten forums, yellowed library books, and hushed tales from folks who've seen too much, and I've uncovered 4 natural nightmares you should never, ever step into. Picture this: a dark forest swallowing the light, a lake so still it hides what's beneath, a cave that breathes your name, trees that creep closer when you're not looking. Here's what I found, and trust me, you'll wish I hadn't looked so deep. I started this hunt in my cluttered trailer, in a nowhere town in Ohio, surrounded by fields that hum at night. It was boredom at first, just me, a flickering lamp, and a laptop. But the stories pulled me in, hooked me, wouldn't let go. These aren't tourist traps or urban legends. They're real, wild places, untamed, alive, waiting. So sit tight, listen close, because I'm about to take you somewhere you can't unvisit. Part 1, The Forest Whispers Your Name. There's a forest up in northern Maine, Black Hollow they call it. A twisted snarl of pines so dense, so suffocating, the sun barely claws through. It's off a dirt road, rutted and overgrown, a path no one takes unless they're lost or stupid. I heard about it from an old logger, Ron Haskell, in a diner, his hands trembling, coffee sloshing as he swore. He'd never go back. He said it started soft, a whisper, faint, his name, Ron, rustling through the branches one foggy dawn. He was hauling timber, axe in hand, breath fogging, when it came. No wind, no birds, just his name, curling around him, tugging him deeper, into the dark where the trees leaned in. He followed, dumb, he knows now, heard it grow. Ron, come here. Voices piling up, some his, some old, some young. Shadows darting between trunks. Too tall, too thin. Grinning when he blinked. Gone when he swung. He stopped, axe raised, heart thudding, saw them clearer. Shapes, eyeless, mouths wide, whispering louder. Ron, stay. Pulling at his boots like roots through the dirt. Next day, he quit, left his gear, ran, truck screaming down the road. But at night, he hears it. Ron, through his walls, 40 miles away. He's seen boot prints, damp, sticky with pine sap, circling his house, closing in. Last week, he found his axe, buried in his porch, blade wet, his name scratched deep. Ron, in the wood, fresh, red, waiting. I checked maps. Black Hollow's real, unmarked, avoided. Locals say it's been whispering since the 50s, taking loggers, kids, anyone who listens too long. Ron's not the first, won't be the last, but he's alive for now, fighting the call that never stops. Part 2. Something crawled out of the lake. Down in Kentucky, there's a lake. Mirror Pond, it's called. A glassy stretch of water, ringed by drooping willows, tucked in a hollow where the air hangs heavy, thick, like it's holding its breath. I got this one from a fisherman, Dale Carter, in a bar, his eyes darting, voice low, hands gripping a beer he didn't drink, saying he'd never, never fish there again. He was out at noon, pole steady, sun high, heat pressing, when the water rippled, not a fish, something big, thrashing hard. A shadow broke the surface, long, slick arms too many, crawling up the bank, eyeless, head tilting, staring right at him, wet and wrong, dripping black muck that stank of rot. He dropped his rod, stumbled back, boots slipping, heard it hiss, his name, Dale, low, guttural, dragging itself closer, fingers clawing the mud, reaching for him as he ran, heart slamming, lungs burning. He glanced back, saw it stand, taller, arms stretching. Dale, louder, chasing him to the tree line before it sank back, slow, into the pond. He made it home, truck screaming, hands shaking. But that night, His yard flooded, muck pooling. His name, Dale, scratched in the slime. Deep, wet. Last week, he saw it. Through his window, waiting by the shore. Taller, blacker, arms swaying, calling him back. His rod's gone. Found it later. On his porch, bent, dripping, his name carved in the grip. I dug deeper. Mirror ponds old, cursed, they say, since a kid drowned in '73, pulled under by something. Fishermen avoid it, swear the water moves when it shouldn't, and Dale's not lying. His hands still smell of that muck, no matter how hard he scrubs. Part 3. The Echo in the Cave. When you're alone. In Wyoming, there's a cave, Devil's Throat they name it. A jagged gash in the cliffs, hidden by scrub and rock. A black mouth hikers steer clear of after one went in '89, and never came out. I heard this from a ranger, Mark Tillman, retired now, living in a cabin, waking sweaty, eyes wild, saying he heard it. Heard it too. He was scouting. Midday, sun blazing, dust kicking, stepped inside, cool dark swallowing him, called out, "Hello," for echoes, got back his voice. Mark, clear, close, not from the walls, from deeper in, low, sharp, where his flashlight flickered, died, and the air turned cold, heavy. He yelled again, "Who's there?" Heard it. Mark, louder, layered, his voice twisting, laughing, footsteps crunching behind. Alone, he thought, but the echo screamed, "Mark," splitting his skull. He ran, tripped over bones, small, scattered, not animal, not old, flashlight dead. Mark, chasing him out, ringing in his ears. He quit, moved east, far east, but at night, he hears it. Mark, through his vents, soft, then loud. Last month, his dog vanished. Paw prints leading west, toward the cliffs, toward that throat. He found a bone, small, chewed, on his step. His name, Mark, scratched faint, red in the marrow. I looked it up. Devil's Throat's real, off limits now. But old reports whisper of screams, names, hikers lost. Mark's voice shakes when he talks. Says it's still calling, still knows him. And he's running out of places to hide from an echo that won't fade. Part 4. The trees move closer. Out in Oregon, there's a grove. Whispering Pines, it's called. A circle of redwoods, off a logging trail. Tall, ancient, a place campers swear shrinks at night, squeezes tight. I got this from a hiker, Jess Parker, pale, sipping whiskey in a roadside dive, voice cracking, saying she'd never camp again. She pitched her tent. Afternoon, light fading, air crisp. Heard it, a shush, branches creaking, looked up, saw the trees, closer, roots curling through the dirt, tightening the circle. Her name, Jess, scratched low in the bark, fresh, wet, dripping sap like blood, carved when she wasn't looking. She packed fast, hands shaking, tent snagging, heard them shift, trunks groaning, closing in, shadows stretching long, hands in the canopy, reaching, whispering. Jess, loud, her flashlight catching eyes, too many, blinking down. The grove squeezed, tent poles snapping, roots brushing her boots as she bolted, screaming. She escaped, car screaming, tires spinning, but her yard's got saplings now, growing fast, circling her house. Jess, carved deeper each dawn. She's seen them move, slow at night, leaning in, branches tapping her windows, eyes glinting, calling her back. Last night, her tent pegs, left behind, were on her porch, bent, wet, her name scratched deep, Jess, in the metal. I researched. Whispering Pines is real, logged once, abandoned after workers vanished in '66, said the trees walked. Jess keeps a hatchet by her bed, says they're coming, closer, and she's not sure she can outrun a forest that knows her name. Final. These 4, Black Hollow, Mirror Pond, Devil's Throat, whispering pines. They're out there, calling, waiting. Nature twisted into something alive, something that knows you, wants you, won't let you go. I've tracked the stories, seen the fear in their eyes, Ron's trembling hands, Dale's haunted stare, Mark's sleepless nights, Jess's shaky grip. And I'm staying far, far away. They're not just places. They're traps, hungry, patient, whispering your name when you least expect it. I've got the maps, the tales, the proof. And I'm asking you right now, would you dare to visit?